Everyone talks about Creed Aventus, iconic scent, luxury bottle, ridiculous price tag. But let's be honest, most of us aren't dropping $400 to smell like success. That's where the clone game comes in, and today we're comparing two of the biggest names in the battle. Club de Nuit, Intense Man by Armaf, and Supremacy, Not Only Intense by Afnan. Both claim to give you that legendary Aventus DNA. Fruity, smoky, powerful, unforgettable. But which one actually delivers? Which one smells better, lasts longer, and gets you more compliments? And which is the smarter buy for your collection? I've tested them both for years across seasons, events, and batches, and I've got strong thoughts. Let's break it all down. Number 1, the opening. First impressions matter. Let's start with the first thing you notice when you spray both of these on your skin. The opening. Club de Nuit, Intense Man, or CDNIM for short, has what I call the lemon punch intro. It hits hard with a sharp synthetic citrus note that honestly smells a little like lemon-scented furniture polish. But hang with me, that opening is notorious in the community, and it's divisive. Some people hate it, others say it adds character. In my testing, the lemon blast fades within about 10 minutes. That's when the pineapple and birch start creeping in, and suddenly, you start to recognize the Aventus DNA. Smoky, fruity, masculine. Afnan's Supremacy, Not Only Intense on the other hand, opens completely differently. It skips the synthetic harshness and goes straight into a smoother, rounder mix of bergamot, apple, and blackcurrant. Right from the first spray, it smells more polished. No screech, no harshness. Just clean, elegant fruit layered with a subtle, smoky undertone. This is where Afnan makes its first big play. For most guys, especially if you're not deep in the clone game, the Afnan opening is way more pleasant. You don't have to wait for it to get good. It just starts good. I've worn these side by side on multiple occasions and even blind tested them on friends. Afnan almost always wins the opening round. People describe it as fresh, clean, professional. CDNIM, I've had sharp, lemony, and kind of chemical until it calms down. Verdict on the opening. If you want immediate appeal, Afnan's Supremacy. Not Only Intense is the clear winner. If you're a fan of a more aggressive, old-school Aventus vibe and don't mind waiting for the dry down, CDNIM can still work. Number 2. The dry down where the magic happens. Now let's talk about where clone fragrances really prove themselves, or fall apart, the dry down. After that 15 to 20 minute mark, CDNIM starts to evolve. The citrus sharpness fades, and in comes a smoky birch, light jasmine, and some musk. It's masculine, it's commanding, and it has that campfire pineapple effect Aventus fans crave. This is where CDNIM shows why it's become a legend in the frag community. It gives you that dry, smoky, boss-like finish for a fraction of the cost. But it's not perfect. Depending on the batch, it can lean too ashy. Sometimes the musk goes slightly sour, especially on warmer skin or in high heat. Afnan's Supremacy, Not Only Intense by contrast, stays smooth throughout. The fruit stays present for longer and the smokiness is more refined. Less fire, more incense. Then it dries down into a creamy blend of patchouli, musk, and subtle vanilla ambergris vibes. There's a richness here that CDNIM doesn't quite match. It feels more like a niche scent, less like a punchy clone. I'll be honest, when I wear CDNIM, I feel bold, maybe even a little loud. When I wear Afnan, I feel confident, clean. Well put together, it's Aventus with a suit, not a leather jacket. Community feedback backs this up. People who like intense smokiness lean CDNIM. People who want elegance go Afnan. Verdict on the dry down. CDNIM, bolder, smokier, more alpha. Afnan, smoother, rounder, more refined. You can't go wrong, but Afnan feels more versatile, especially in professional or upscale settings. Number 3, longevity and projection. Who lasts longer? Let's get into performance because that's where clone culture either wins big or gets clowned. CDNIM is known for being a beast, or at least it was. Older batches were 10+ hour monsters with strong sillage that filled a room. But if you've bought a bottle in the last few years, you might have noticed something. It's been reformulated. Not terrible, but the power isn't what it used to be. On average, I get about 7 to 9 hours on skin with the newer batches. It still projects well for the first 2 hours, but becomes a skin scent faster than it used to. On clothes, it lasts longer, 12 hours easily. Afnan's Supremacy, Not Only Intense on the other hand, is surprisingly consistent. I regularly get 9 to 11 hours on skin, and it projects steadily without being too loud. It doesn't hit with that nuclear blast like the old CDNIM, but it keeps going. And more importantly, it smells good the entire time. I've sprayed Afnan on in the morning before meetings, and I still get wafts of it in the evening. CDNIM tends to spike early and fade quicker. Pro tip, for both, spray on fabric as well as skin. These kinds of cologne oils cling beautifully to cotton or wool and will project all day. Verdict on performance. CDNIM might still win if you get a strong batch, but Afnan is more consistent, smoother, and performs slightly better overall in real-world conditions. 4. Compliment factor. What are people saying? You want the truth? Both of these fragrances pull compliments, but they do it in very different ways. CDNIM grabs attention. When you first walk into a room, people notice. It's bold. The birch and pineapple combo cuts through the air. When I wore it to a crowded bar, 2 different people asked what I was wearing within an hour. One guy thought it was Aventus. Another said it smelled like money and aggression. CDNIM gets direct, strong compliments, especially from people who like powerful, masculine scents. Afnan Supremacy. Not only intense, gets more subtle appreciation. It's the kind of scent that makes people lean in. You'll get, "You smell really nice," or "You always smell fresh," from coworkers, dates, and even strangers. But it's not as loud about it. I wore Afnan to a formal dinner and got compliments from both men and women throughout the night. But it was never overpowering. It's discreet luxury. So here's the breakdown. CDNIM gets more aggressive compliments. You'll stand out fast. Afnan gets more frequent, smooth compliments. You'll smell refined and polished. Which is better? Depends on your vibe. CDNIM is your nightclub fragrance. Afnan is your dinner date or office flex. 5. Versatility. Which one fits more situations? Here's where the gap starts to widen between these two clones, because versatility is about more than just scent profile. It's about how many different real-life situations each fragrance can handle without feeling out of place. Let's start with Club de Nuit Intense Man. CDNIM is bold, smoky, loud. That makes it excellent for nights out, cooler weather, date nights, and situations where you want to leave a mark. But try wearing this in the middle of July at the office, during a 1 p.m. meeting, and you're going to choke someone out. Even with the reformulation, the birch-heavy profile just doesn't play nice in heat or closed environments. It's also a bit too rough for some professional settings. I've had people tell me CDNIM smelled great, but also a little intense for daytime wear. Now, Afnan Supremacy, not only intense, totally different story. It walks the line between fresh and smoky perfectly. It has enough brightness in the opening for daytime wear, think office, brunch, even summer evenings, and enough depth in the dry down to pull off cooler nights and formal events. I've worn this with a suit, and I've worn it with a t-shirt and jeans. It just works. What gives Afnan the edge here is how smooth it is. The lack of sharpness in the opening makes it immediately wearable in almost any season, and it avoids ever becoming overwhelming. Here's the real-world test I use for versatility. If you had to bring one fragrance on a 4-day trip where you'll be outdoors, at dinner, at work, and maybe at a wedding, which one would you pack? Afnan wins that scenario every single time. Verdict on versatility. CDNIM is great for bold, colder moments, but not an everyday go-to. Afnan is a true Swiss Army scent. One bottle, many uses. 6. Presentation and packaging. Does the bottle match the scent? Now let's talk packaging. I know it's not the most important thing, but let's face it, when you're buying fragrance, the bottle does matter, especially when you're talking clone territory, where we already expect compromises on presentation to save cost. CDNIM comes in that recognizable matte black bottle with a chunky silver cap. It's iconic in its own way, but let's be honest, it feels a bit cheap. The cap is loose, the atomizer is hit or miss, and the whole thing is a fingerprint magnet. Don't get me wrong, it does the job, but it screams budget banger, not luxury. Afnan Supremacy. Not only intense on the other hand, looks and feels premium. Matte black bottle with metallic accents, a magnetic cap, smooth atomizer, and solid weight in the hand. It gives the vibe of a designer fragrance. In blind tests, I've had people guess this was a $150 bottle based on looks alone. And here's the kicker, it often only costs $10 more than CDNIM. Maybe less depending on where you buy it. If you're gifting a fragrance or just like having good-looking bottles on your shelf, Afnan clearly wins this category. Verdict on presentation. CDNIM. Functional, but budget feeling. Afnan. Premium, polished, display-worthy. Pro tip. Presentation doesn't affect the scent, but if you care about aesthetic or travel often, Afnan feels far more durable and put together. 7. Batch variation and reformulation. Can you trust it long-term? Now we're getting into clone territory that a lot of casual buyers don't talk about. Batch variation and reformulation risk. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Club de Nuit. Intense Man has changed. Older batches, especially the silver sprayer versions, were absolute monsters. Sharper, yes, but longer lasting, smokier, and more complex in the dry down. Over the years, reformulations have mellowed it out. Some bottles now smell more citrusy, less smoky, or fade faster on skin. I've had two bottles side by side, one from 2018, one from 2023, and they're noticeably different. That doesn't mean the current version is bad. It's still a solid performer, but it's not the beast it once was, and that unpredictability can be frustrating if you're blind buying. Afnan Supremacy. Not only intense, on the other hand, is a relatively new release. It hasn't gone through as many iterations yet. So far, batch consistency has been excellent. The juice smells the same across several bottles I've tested and compared, and community feedback backs that up. Here's what this means for you. CDNIM is a gamble depending on when and where you buy it. Afnan is more reliable at this point in time. Pro tip, if you love an older bottle of CDNIM, try to grab a backup. With how clone houses reformulate over time to save cost, there's no guarantee the next version will smell the same. 8. Hype versus reality. Which one is actually worth it? This is the part where I set the record straight. CDNIM has hype, a ton of it. It's one of the most famous clones of all time. It built a reputation because when it dropped years ago, it did what no other clone could. It gave you that Aventus-style scent with 10-hour longevity. For under $40, it deserves respect. But let's also be real, the hype came from earlier versions, not necessarily what you're buying in 2024. And because it's so well known, it's also more polarizing now. People either love it or they're tired of it. Afnan Supremacy. Not only intense, on the other hand, is still riding that fresh wave of discovery. People are buying it, blind testing it, and getting blown away. But it's not just hype, it's performance, scent profile, consistency, and presentation all aligning. That's rare in clone culture, and I've been in this game a long time. I've smelled the hype trains that crash and burn. Afnan feels legitimately different. It doesn't just copy Aventus, it refines the DNA and makes it more accessible and wearable. If I had to recommend one to a first-time clone buyer who wants a solid, everyday fragrance with versatility and mass appeal, Afnan wins, no hesitation. If someone said, I want that smoky Aventus vibe with an edge, something with grit, I'd still nod towards CDNIM. Just with a warning, don't expect the 2017 performance. Verdict on hype versus reality. CDNIM. Iconic but not as untouchable as it once was. Afnan. Newer, better rounded, and delivering on the promise right now. 9. Storage tips and future reformulation risks. What you need to know. Let's talk about something that separates clone rookies from seasoned frag heads. Proper storage and understanding the risk of reformulation. See, one of the biggest mistakes I see guys make, especially with affordable fragrances, is they treat them like they're disposable. They leave them in hot bathrooms, exposed to sunlight, or thrown into gym bags. That's how you ruin even the best clones. Here's the deal with CDNIM and Afnan Supremacy. Not only intense, both of these have decent oil concentrations for their price range. That means they'll last if stored properly, but they can also degrade faster if you're careless. So here's my expert tip. Store them upright in a cool, dark place. No windowsills, no car glove boxes, no humid bathrooms. Think closet, drawer, or a covered fragrance shelf. Now let's talk reformulation. We've already seen Club de Nuit Intense Man change over the years. Older batches were legendary, smokier, stronger, more nuclear. Newer versions? Still good, but noticeably tamer. This is normal in the fragrance world, especially with affordable houses. As demand grows and production scales up, costs get cut and formulas get tweaked, usually to lower oil concentration or reduce the price of key ingredients. If you've got an older CDNIM that performs like a beast, guard it. Use it sparingly or grab a backup while it's still floating around on secondary markets. Just know that batch codes don't always guarantee performance anymore. It's trial and error these days. Afnan, being newer, hasn't shown major signs of reformulation yet, but let's be honest, it's only a matter of time. Supremacy. Not only intense is hot right now, and once that popularity catches fire globally, formulas tend to shift. Smart move? If you love what you're smelling today, pick up an extra bottle. At $45 to $60, it's a safe investment. And future, you will thank you when you can't find the same version in a year. 10. Final verdict. Which Aventus clone wins? And who should buy what? So here we are. Two of the most hyped Aventus clones head-to-head. You've heard the breakdown. You've seen the strengths and weaknesses. Now let's get to the real question. Which one deserves your money? Let's start with Club de Nuit Intense Man. CDNIM is the classic. It's bold, smoky, masculine, and in the right batch. Still incredibly effective. It's the fragrance that put clone culture on the map. If you're someone who likes a darker, more aggressive Aventus vibe, CDNIM might still be your king. It demands attention, projects hard, and has that signature edge. But you need to be okay with a slightly rough opening, some batch inconsistency, and the reality that it's not quite the monster it used to be. Now, Afnan Supremacy, not only intense, this is the modern upgrade. It's smoother, more wearable, more versatile. It doesn't try to be an exact copy of Aventus. It refines the DNA into something more elegant. It performs, it gets compliments, it wears beautifully in more situations, and the bottle presentation actually feels premium. If you're new to clones, if you want a daily driver, or if you're tired of synthetic lemon punches and just want a well-rounded, easy win, Afnan is your guy. Honestly, the best move is to own both. CDNIM is your statement maker for fall nights, clubbing, cold weather, and I own the room vibes. Afnan is your suit scent, your date scent, your everything scent. It plays nice but still gets noticed. For under $100, you can own both, and completely eliminate the need to drop hundreds on Aventus itself. These aren't just cheap clones, they're smart buys. They smell incredible, rival designer performance, and get real compliments for a fraction of the price. If you want to smell like a gentleman without spending like one, grab the links in the description. Bottles, testers, and trusted sellers are all there. Stick around if you're serious about smelling amazing without wasting money. You're in the right place.